Jake Morrison stood on the observation deck of Earth Defense Station Alpha, watching the morning sun rise over the blue marble below. He had been Admiral of Earth's Defense Force for 12 years, and most days were quiet. Earth was a peaceful world now, known throughout the galaxy for its food and music, not its weapons. That peace ended at 00 hours when the alarm started screaming. "Admiral, we have multiple contacts dropping out of hyperspace," called Lisa Rodriguez from the sensor. "Station." The young science officer's voice was steady, but Jake could hear the fear underneath. "Sir, these ships are huge. I've never seen anything like them." Jake moved to the main display screen. What he saw made his blood run cold. 12 massive vessels hung in space near Jupiter, each one the size of a small moon. Their hulls were black as space itself, covered in sharp angles that seemed to hurt the eyes to look at. These were not merchant ships or diplomatic vessels. These were warships built for one purpose: killing. "Get me Ryan Clark," Jake ordered, "and patch me through to Amy Patterson at Intelligence." Within minutes, both officers appeared on the communication screen. Ryan Clark was a Marine colonel with scars on his face and hands that told stories of old battles. Amy Patterson looked like a librarian, but Jake knew she used to work for the CIA before humanity joined the galactic community. "What are we looking at, Amy?" Jake asked. Amy's face was grim. "Vortex ships, Admiral. The worst news we could get. They're the galaxy's most dangerous hunters. They've been wiping out entire civilizations for 50,000 years. Ryan leaned forward. "How many civilizations have they destroyed?" 847 that we know of," Amy replied. "They call it the Great Culling. They show up, give the target species a chance to surrender, then hunt them for sport. No one has ever survived a Vorthak hunt." Jake felt his stomach turn. "How long do we have?" "If they follow their usual pattern, 72 hours, Amy said. "They'll send demands first. Then they'll demonstrate their power. Then they'll start the hunt." As if summoned by her words, the communication system crackled to life. A voice spoke in perfect English, but there was something wrong with it. It sounded like rocks grinding together, like metal scraping metal. "People of Earth, I am Warlord Krex of the Vorthek Hunting Consortium. Your world has been selected for the Great Culling. You have 72 hours to surrender. Those who give up will be granted quick deaths. Those who resist will provide entertainment for our hunters." The transmission cut off. The silence that followed was deafening. Lisa broke the quiet. "Admiral, I'm detecting 2 more fleets approaching, different designs but just as large." Jake closed his eyes. It was getting worse. "What species?" "Nexari and Zephyrins," Amy answered. "The Nexari are living crystals with energy weapons that can cut through anything. The Zephyrins are insects that think as one mind. Together with the Vorthek, they form the most feared alliance in the galaxy." Ryan slammed his fist on the table. "How many ships total?" 47, Lisa whispered. "Each one carries thousands of troops. We're looking at maybe 500,000 enemy soldiers." Jake opened his eyes and looked at his officers. Earth had maybe 50,000 soldiers in the defense force, and their weapons were designed for police work, not war. The planet's defense. I could stop pirates or smugglers, but not this." "Sir," Ryan said quietly, "we should consider evacuation. Get as many people off-world as possible." "Where would they go?" Jake asked. "These hunters own half the galaxy. They'd track down every refugee and kill them slowly." Amy nodded. "He's right. The Vorthek enjoy the chase. Running would just make it more fun for them." The communication system activated again. This time the voice was different. It sounded like wind chimes in a storm. "Humans of Earth, I am Nexari Prime Singer. Your resistance will be brief but amusing. We have shattered the shields of 1,000 worlds. Your primitive defenses will not delay us." A third voice joined in, this one like a million insects buzzing in unison. "We are the Zephyrin Collective. We have studied your species. You are weak. You are slow. You are few. You will provide adequate sport for our warriors." The transmission ended, but immediately the defense station's sensors went crazy. Lisa's face went white as she read the displays. Admiral, they just fired on Mars. Phobos is gone. The moon is just gone. Jake looked at the tactical display. Where Mars' smaller moon had been, there was nothing but expanding debris. The aliens had destroyed it with a single shot, just to show they could. They're sending a message, Amy said. This is what happens if we don't surrender. They'll turn our whole planet into dust. Ryan stood up. So what do? We can't fight them. We can't run. We can't hide. Jake was quiet for a long moment. He thought about his daughter, safe in a college on Europa. He thought about the 6 billion people on Earth who were counting on him to protect them. He thought about the 847 civilizations that had faced this same choice and lost. Then he thought about something else. He thought about human history, about the wars his species had fought, about the creativity they showed when their backs were against the wall, about the lengths they would go to when everything they loved was threatened. Amy, he said finally, do we have any way to communicate with them? Yes, sir. They're monitoring all frequencies. Jake walked to the communication console. When he spoke, his voice was calm and clear. This is Admiral Jake Morrison of the Earth Defense Force. We've received your demands. We reject them, but we have a counteroffer. You want to hunt humans? Fine, but you're hunting us on our terms now. Come down to the surface if you want a real fight. The silence that followed lasted exactly 30 seconds. Then the alien voices returned, and this time they sounded amused. Humans are indeed amusing. The Vortex said, Very well, we accept your challenge. Ground forces only, winner takes all. Prepare your world for the hunt. Jake cut the transmission and looked at his officers. They were staring at him like he had lost his mind. Sir, Ryan said slowly, what the hell did you just do? Jake smiled, and it was not a nice smile. I bought us time. And I changed the rules. Amy, activate Operation Pandora. Amy's eyes went wide. Sir, are you sure? Once we start that, there's no going back. The galaxy will never see us the same way again. Good, Jake said. It's time they learned what humans are really capable of. He pressed a button on his console. Deep in the mountains of Earth, machines that had been sleeping for 2 centuries began to wake up. Across the planet, certain people received coded messages. The hunt was about to begin, but the aliens had no idea what they had just agreed to face. Jake Morrison had spent his whole career keeping humanity's darkest secrets buried. Now it was time to dig them up. 24 hours after Admiral Morrison's challenge, the alien fleets moved into Earth's orbit. The sight made every human on the planet look up at the sky with fear. The massive ships blocked out the sun in many places, casting shadows over entire cities. Danny Foster stood in the ruins of what used to be Yellowstone National Park. The former Navy SEAL had been living in the wilderness for 10 years, teaching survival skills to anyone who would listen. Now he was teaching something else entirely. Remember, he told the group of 50 men and women gathered around him, these aliens think they know how to hunt. They've been doing it for thousands of years, but they've never hunted anything like us. One of the trainees, a young woman named Kate Miller, raised her hand. She had been a psychologist before the war, specializing in criminal minds. What makes us different? Danny smiled. It was not a friendly smile. They hunt for fun, we hunt to survive. They follow rules, we don't. Across the country, similar meetings were taking place. Ryan Clark had sent out a call for volunteers, but not the kind most people expected. He wasn't looking for soldiers or police officers. He was looking for people who understood darkness. In a warehouse in Detroit, Tony Blake was working on weapons that would have horrified the old Earth government. The young engineer had been designing mining equipment before the crisis. Now he was building tools of war using salvaged alien technology. The problem with advanced civilizations, he explained to his team, is that they think advanced means better, but sometimes simple is more effective. He held up a device that looked like a metal tube with wires attached. This is a pulse generator. It sends out electromagnetic waves that will shut down their energy shields. Cost me about $50 to make. Their shields probably cost 1 million credits each. Meanwhile, Amy Patterson was deep underground in a bunker that officially didn't exist. She was studying everything they knew about the three alien species. The intelligence she had gathered painted a disturbing picture. "They're not just hunters," she told Jake Morrison over a secure communication line. "They're addicts. They've been hunting weak species for so long, they've forgotten how to fight equals. They literally can't imagine losing." Jake was in his own bunker, coordinating with military leaders around the world. "What about their tactics?" "That's the interesting part," Amy replied. "They always follow the same pattern. They establish a perimeter, then send in small hunting parties. They take prisoners for sport. They never use their full force because that would make the hunt too easy. And if they start losing," Amy was quiet for a moment, "no one knows. No species has ever hurt them badly enough to find out." The communication system crackled, and the alien voices filled the bunker again. "Humans of Earth," the Vorthik warlord said, "we have established our hunting grounds. Your major cities are now under our control. Those who wish to surrender may do so now. You have 6 hours before the hunt begins." Jake looked at the tactical display. The aliens had landed massive ships in 12 locations around the world. New York, London, Tokyo, Moscow, and 8 other major cities were now occupied. But something was wrong with the picture. "Lisa," he called to his science officer, "where are their perimeter forces?" Lisa checked her sensors. "That's strange." "Sir, they're not setting up any defensive positions. They're just sitting in the city centers." Jake felt a cold realization. "They're not trying to conquer us. They're using the cities as bait. They want us to come to them." 6 hours later, the hunt began. But it didn't go the way the aliens expected. The first Vorthak hunting party left New York looking for human resistance. They found the city completely empty. Every building was dark. Every street was silent. There were no humans to be found anywhere. "Where are they?" asked Sub-Commander Grex, leading a squad of 12 hunters through Manhattan. His scanner showed human life signs, but they were all underground. The sewers, the subway tunnels, the basement levels of every building. The humans had disappeared into the earth itself. "They're hiding like animals," laughed another hunter. "This will be easy." That's when the explosion started. The first blast came from under a manhole cover, sending 3 hunters flying. The second came from a building that had seemed empty, filling the street with smoke and debris. The third came from everywhere at once. As the humans triggered charges they had been placing for weeks, Sub-Commander Grex found himself alone, his squad scattered or dead. He activated his emergency beacon, calling for backup. But the response he got was not what he expected. "All hunting parties, this is command. We are experiencing technical difficulties. Several squads have gone silent. Maintain your positions and wait for orders." Similar scenes were playing out around the world. The crystalline Nexari had entered London expecting to face primitive weapons. Instead, they found themselves fighting enemies who used their own energy against them. Mirrors and reflective surfaces turned their deadly beams back on themselves. The insectoid Zephrines had landed in Tokyo, confident that their hive mind would give them an advantage. But the humans had studied their communication patterns. Kate Miller's psychological warfare teams were broadcasting false signals, confusing the aliens and making them attack each other. Back in the underground bunker, Jake Morrison was getting reports from around the world. The first phase of Operation Pandora was working better than he had hoped. "Sir," Lisa reported, "the aliens are requesting reinforcements. They're breaking their own hunting protocols." Jake nodded. "Good, that means they're scared." "Amy, what's the status on our special teams?" Amy smiled. "Danny Foster's group has eliminated 2 Vorthik hunting parties in the Rocky Mountains. The aliens never even saw them coming. Tony Blake's weapons are working perfectly." "And Kate Miller? Has the Zephrins so confused they're shooting at their own shadows? What about casualties?" "Surprisingly light on our side. The aliens are so used to fighting in the open that they don't know how to handle guerrilla warfare. They keep walking into traps." Jake felt hope for the first time in days. "How are the aliens responding?" "They're angry," Amy replied. and confused. They keep sending the same message. Fight us properly. They don't understand why we won't face them in open battle. Jake laughed. They want a fair fight. They have no idea what fair means to humans. The communication system activated again, and this time the alien voices sounded different. Less confident, more frustrated. Humans, the Vorthak warlord said, your tactics are dishonorable. Face us in open combat as warriors should. Jake activated the transmission system. You came to our world to hunt us for sport. You destroyed our moon as a threat. You occupied our cities. And now you want to lecture us about honor? The alien was quiet for a moment. Then, we are the greatest hunters in the galaxy. We have never been defeated. You've never fought humans before, Jake replied. And you're not hunting us. We're hunting you. He cut the transmission and looked at his officers. They were all smiling now, but it was a dangerous kind of smile. Phase 2 begins in 6 hours, Jake announced. It's time to show them what human monsters really look like. The Amazon rainforest had become a nightmare for the Vorthak. What should have been a simple hunt through Earth's largest jungle had turned into a week-long horror show. Danny Foster watched through his binoculars as another alien hunting party stumbled through the trees below, following the false trail his team had left. They never learn, whispered Sam Hughes, the former prison warden who had joined Danny's unit. Third group this week to fall for the same trick, Danny nodded. The Vorthak were supposed to be the galaxy's greatest hunters, but they hunted on. Alien worlds with alien rules. Earth was different. Earth was hostile to everything, including humans. But humans had learned to make that hostility work for them. The alien patrol consisted of 8 Vorthak warriors, each one 7 feet tall and covered in natural armor that could stop most weapons. They moved through the jungle with confidence, their advanced sensors scanning for human life signs. What they didn't know was that Danny's team had been living in this jungle for 2 weeks, and they had turned it into a death trap. The first alien stepped on what looked like solid ground. The hidden pit opened beneath him, and he fell 20 feet onto sharpened stakes. His armor saved him from the spikes, but the fall broke his leg. His screams echoed through the trees. The other aliens rushed to help their injured companion. That's when the second trap activated. Rachel Stone, Danny's demolitions expert, had placed charges in the trees above. The explosion brought down a wall of heavy branches, crushing 2 more aliens. The remaining 5 Vorthak opened fire with their energy, weapons filling the air with deadly beams. But they were shooting at shadows. Danny's team had already moved to their next position, leaving behind only empty jungle. "Where are they?" roared the alien squad leader. "Show yourselves and fight like warriors." His answer came from Chris Taylor, positioned in a tree 300 yards away. The former Army sniper had been hunting Earth's most dangerous animals for 15 years. Now he was hunting something even more dangerous. The alien leader's head exploded in a spray of green blood. Chris had used an old-fashioned rifle, the kind that fired metal bullets instead of energy beams. The aliens' shields were designed to stop advanced weapons, not primitive ones. The surviving aliens panic-fired in all directions. But Chris was already gone. He had moved the moment he pulled the trigger, a lesson learned from hunting tigers. Never stay in the same spot after you make a kill. 2,000 miles away, in the ruins of Detroit, a different kind of hunt was taking place. The Zephyrin Collective had sent their best warriors to claim the city, expecting to face human military forces. Instead, they found themselves in an urban maze designed by someone who understood their every weakness. Kate Miller sat in a hidden bunker beneath the city, watching the aliens through cameras placed throughout the streets. She had been studying insect behavior for months, learning how the Zephyrins thought and moved. Now she was using that knowledge to drive them insane. "Broadcasting false queen signals now," she told her team. The Zephyrins were controlled by a hive mind, but that mind could be confused with the right kind of interference. Half the alien force suddenly turned and began attacking the other half. Their own communication system was telling them that their companions were enemies. The confusion lasted only minutes, but it was enough for the human defenders to strike. Sam Hughes emerged from a sewer grate behind the aliens. leading a team of former criminals who had volunteered for the war. These were men and women who had spent their lives breaking rules, and now they were being asked to break the ultimate rule: show mercy to enemies. They didn't. The battle was over in minutes. The Zephyrins, confused and divided, fell to weapons and tactics that seemed primitive but were terrifyingly effective. Explosives hidden in abandoned cars, poison gas pumped through the subway system, sniper fire from empty buildings. But the real horror was what happened to the aliens who survived. Sam Hughes had learned a lot about breaking people during his years as a prison warden. The techniques worked just as well on aliens. In a basement beneath the city, captured Zephyrins were subjected to something they had never experienced: sensory deprivation. Their hive-mind connection was blocked by electronic interference. For the first time in their lives, they were alone with their thoughts. "Please," one of them begged after 3 days of isolation, "let us die. We cannot bear the silence." Sam smiled. "You wanted to hunt humans. This is what it feels like to be hunted." The third alien species, the crystalline Nexari, had claimed Los Angeles as their hunting ground. They were confident in their energy weapons and their ability to phase through solid matter. What they didn't expect was to face a human who understood their technology better than they did. Tony Blake had been studying captured Nexari equipment for weeks. The aliens' greatest strength was their ability to become energy beings, making them nearly impossible to kill with conventional weapons. But Tony had found their weakness. "The problem with being made of energy," he explained to his team, "is that you can be grounded like lightning." His solution was simple and brutal. Copper wires stretched between buildings, carrying massive electrical charges. When the Nexari tried to phase through the city, they found themselves trapped in a giant electrical grid that drained their energy and forced them back into solid form. Once they were solid, they could be killed like anything else. The aliens' response to these defeats was predictable. They called for reinforcements, abandoning their hunting protocols entirely. More ships arrived from space, carrying weapons designed for planetary bombardment rather than sport hunting. But Admiral Morrison had been expecting this. Amy Patterson's infiltration of the alien fleet had been successful beyond their wildest hopes. She had been inside their command ship for 2 weeks, posing as a captured human while actually gathering intelligence and sabotaging their systems. "Admiral," Amy reported through a hidden communication device, "they're planning to glass the planet. No more hunting games. They want to kill every human on Earth." Morrison nodded. "Good, let them try. Are you in position?" "Yes, sir. I've placed charges throughout their primary command ship. When you give the order, their entire fleet will turn on itself." "And the biological weapon?" Amy's voice was grim. "Beth Connor's work is ready. 1 virus for each alien species, designed to target their unique biology. It's already in their air supply." Morrison looked at the tactical display. The aliens had committed everything to this attack. Every ship, every soldier, every weapon they had. If humanity's counterattack worked, the galaxy's most feared predators would be destroyed forever. If it failed, Earth would become a dead world. "All units," Morrison broadcast to every human force on the planet, "this is it. They're coming with everything they have. Show them what monsters really look like." Around the world, humans who had been hiding in shadows and tunnels began to emerge. They carried weapons that would have been illegal under the old galactic treaties. They moved with the coordination of predators who had finally found worthy prey. The aliens had wanted to hunt humans. Now they were about to learn the difference between hunting and being hunted, the difference between sport and survival, the difference between civilized warfare and the desperate brutality of a species that had evolved on a planet where everything tried to kill it. The real war was about to begin. The sky above Earth turned orange as the alien reinforcement fleet began their bombardment. Warlord Krex had abandoned all pretense of hunting for sport. Now he wanted only one thing: the complete destruction of humanity. "Burn it all," he commanded, from the bridge of his flagship. "Every city, every forest, every human hiding place, I want this planet to be ash." The energy beams from space struck major cities around the world. New York, London, Tokyo, and Moscow disappeared in pillars of fire. To the aliens watching from orbit, it looked like victory. But they had made a critical mistake. The cities were empty, deep in the mountains of Colorado. Admiral Morrison watched the destruction through satellite feeds. Every human had been evacuated weeks ago, moved to underground bunkers and cave systems that the aliens couldn't detect. The cities burning above were nothing but empty shells. Phase 3 is now active, he announced to his command staff. Amy, are you ready? From inside the alien flagship, Amy Patterson's voice crackled through the communication system. Charges are in place, Admiral. I've been mapping their ship layouts for 2 weeks. When I trigger the explosives, their entire fleet will lose power. And a biological weapon? Beth Connor, the medic who had spent months studying alien biology, spoke up from her laboratory. It's already working. The virus I created targets each species differently. The Vorthak will experience system failure within hours. The Nexari will lose their ability to phase. The Zephyrins will lose their hive-mind connection, Morrison nodded. Luke, what about their technology? Luke Adams, the hacker who had been infiltrating alien computer systems, smiled. I've been in their networks for weeks. Every weapon, every shield, every life support system. When you give the word, I can turn their own ships into weapons against them. The plan was simple and brutal. While the aliens celebrated their apparent victory, the humans would turn their entire fleet into a death trap. But first they needed to make sure every alien was committed to the attack. All ships continue bombardment, Warlord Krex ordered. I want every square mile of this planet scorched clean. That's when the real surprise began. The first sign of trouble came from the Zephyrin hive ships. The insectoid aliens suddenly began screaming in unison as their mental connection to each other was severed. Beth Connor's virus had reached their communication organs, turning their greatest strength into a source of agony. What's happening? Demanded the Nexari Prime Singer. Why are the Zephyrins in distress? He got his answer when his own people began collapsing. The crystalline beings found themselves unable to phase through matter, trapped in solid form as the virus attacked their energy conversion systems. For the first time in their existence, they were vulnerable to physical damage. The Vorthak fared no better. Their hunters, who had prided themselves on being the galaxy's apex predators, began falling to the ground as their internal organs shut down. The virus was designed specifically for their biology, targeting the genetic sequences that made them such efficient killers. Impossible, gasped Warlord Krex as he watched his crew dying around him. No primitive species could create such a weapon. That's when Amy Patterson revealed herself. She had been hiding in the ship's ventilation system for 2 weeks, disguised as a maintenance worker. The aliens had been so confident in their superiority that they never suspected a human could infiltrate their most secure vessel. You're right, she said, stepping onto the bridge with a weapon in her hands. No primitive species could create this weapon. But we're not primitive. We're just careful about what we show the galaxy. She triggered the explosives she had placed. Throughout the ship, the alien flagship began tearing itself apart from the inside. Emergency systems failed. Life support shut down. The ship that had seemed invincible moments before was now a floating tomb, but Amy wasn't finished. She activated the communication system and sent a signal to Luke Adams on Earth. Now, Luke, take control of their fleet. From his underground bunker, Luke sent activation codes to every alien ship. The humans had been studying alien technology for weeks, learning its weaknesses and backdoors. Now they turned that knowledge into a weapon. The Nexari energy cannons turned on their own ships, slicing through hulls like paper. The Zephyrin hive ships began firing their bioweapons at each other. The Vorthak vessels found their own missiles. Turning back on them in minutes, the alien fleet was destroying itself. This is not possible, Warlord Krex gasped as his ship shook from explosions. We are the greatest hunters in the galaxy. We have conquered 1,000 worlds. Amy looked at the dying alien leader. You never conquered anything. You just killed. Species that couldn't fight back, but Earth is different. We've been fighting everything on this planet for millions of years. Fighting each other, fighting nature, fighting extinction itself. You think you're predators? You're just bullies who never met real monsters. The flagship's hull began to crack. Atmosphere rushed out into space, but Amy had one more surprise. She activated her emergency beacon, and within seconds, a human rescue ship appeared. Not a military vessel, but a mining ship equipped with technology that should have been impossible. How? Krex whispered as he watched the human ship phase through solid matter, using stolen Nexari technology. You taught us everything we needed to know, Amy replied. Every weapon you used, every tactic you employed, every piece of technology you brought to our world. We studied it all. We learned from it, and now we're using it against you. The rescue ship pulled Amy to safety just as the alien flagship exploded. Around them, the rest of the alien fleet was destroying itself, victim to human sabotage and biological warfare. On Earth's surface, the remaining alien ground forces found themselves facing a new kind of enemy. Humans emerged from their hiding places, but they were different now. They carried weapons that combined alien technology with human creativity. They moved with the coordination of a species that had learned to think like their enemies. Greg Washington, a former gang leader who now commanded a unit of human fighters, led the assault on the Vorthek ground base in what used to be Chicago. His soldiers used stolen Nexari phase technology to walk through walls, combined with human explosives to devastating effect. The thing about humans, he told his captured alien prisoners, is that we learn from everyone who tries to kill us. And you just gave us the best education we've ever had. The battle was over in hours. Without their fleet support, without their biological advantages, without their technological superiority, the aliens were just another species trying to survive against humanity, but survival was something humans understood better than anyone. As the last alien ship fell from the sky, Admiral Morrison broadcast a message to the galaxy. This is Earth. The Vorthek Hunting Consortium, the Nexari Collective, and the Zephyrin Hive have been destroyed. Let this be a lesson to any other species that thinks humans are easy prey. The silence that followed was deafening. For the first time in 50,000 years, the galaxy's most feared predators were gone. And in their place stood something far more dangerous, a species that had learned to turn everything, including their enemies, into weapons. The hunt was over, but humanity's real war was just beginning. 6 months after the last alien ship fell from Earth's sky, Max Porter stood before the Galactic Council wearing a simple black suit. The human ambassador looked nothing like the monsters that had destroyed the galaxy's most feared predators. He was calm, polite, and spoke in a quiet voice that somehow made everyone in the room nervous. Honored representatives, he began, I come before you today to discuss Earth's new role in galactic affairs. The council chamber was packed with delegates from 100 worlds. Some were species that had been prey to the Vorthek for centuries. Others were former allies of the destroyed predator races. All of them were afraid. The Corellian delegate, a small blue creature that looked like a frightened bird, spoke first. Earth has violated every law of civilized warfare. Your species used biological weapons, torture, and terrorism. You are no better than the monsters you destroyed, Max nodded politely. You're absolutely right. We violated every rule of civilized warfare. But then again, the Vorthek weren't interested in civilized warfare when they came to hunt us for sport. A murmur ran through the chamber. The Trilaxian ambassador, whose species had lost 3 colonies to Vorthek hunts, stood up. The humans saved us all. For 50,000 years we lived in fear of the hunting fleets. Now they're gone? At what cost? Demanded the Corellian. Look what they did to entire fleets. They turned advanced technology into weapons of mass destruction. They created diseases that targeted specific species. They showed no mercy to surrendering enemies. Max's expression didn't change. Tell me, Ambassador, how much mercy did the Vorthek show to the 847 civilizations they destroyed? How many prisoners did they take? How many worlds did they leave intact? The Corellian had no answer. Back on Earth, Jake. Morrison was dealing with a different kind of problem. The planet had survived the war, but winning had changed everything. The humans who had fought the aliens were not the same people who had lived peacefully before the invasion. "Sir," Lisa Rodriguez reported, "we're getting requests for military assistance from 43 different worlds. They all want us to help them fight their enemies." Jake rubbed his tired eyes. "What kind of enemies?" "Pirates, mostly. A few territorial disputes. 3 different species are asking us to help them fight each other." "And our response?" Lisa hesitated. "The Defense Council wants to accept. They say we could become the galaxy's peacekeepers. Ryan Clark thinks we should help anyone who asks." Jake knew why Ryan felt that way. The Marine Colonel had seen what humans could do when they were truly motivated. He believed they had a responsibility to protect weaker species from the kind of fate Earth had almost suffered, but Jake also knew the cost. Amy Patterson's intelligence reports made it clear that the galaxy now viewed humans as the ultimate predators. Fear was useful, but it could also lead to new enemies. "What about the other problem?" Jake asked. Lisa's face darkened. "The hegemony is mobilizing. They're calling for a preemptive strike against Earth before we can threaten anyone else." The hegemony was a collection of advanced worlds that had stayed neutral during the Vorthek crisis. They had technology that rivaled the destroyed hunting fleets, and they were terrified of what humanity might do next. Meanwhile, in a laboratory beneath the Rocky Mountains, Beth Connor was working on her latest project. The doctor who had created the virus that killed the alien invaders was now focusing on something entirely different: healing. "The irony," she told her assistant, "is that the same knowledge I used to create biological weapons can be used to cure diseases. We learned more about alien biology in 6 months than the galaxy learned in 1,000 years." Her assistant, a young man named Paul Green, looked uncomfortable. "Some people are saying we should destroy all the research. They think it's too dangerous." Beth shook her head. "Knowledge isn't dangerous. How we use it is what matters. The aliens taught us that in the depths of space, Julie Barnes was aboard the first human diplomatic ship to visit another world since the war. The historian had volunteered to document humanity's first contact with the Xanthari, a peaceful species that had been victims of Vorthak hunting for centuries. The meeting was not going well. "Your reputation precedes you," the Xanthari leader sighed, his 4 eyes showing obvious fear. "We have heard what you did to the hunting fleets. We do not wish to become your enemies." Julie tried to smile reassuringly. "We're not here to threaten you. We're here to offer protection." "Protection from what?" "You destroyed all the predator species. What threat remains?" Julie's expression grew serious. "The hegemony is building a fleet. They plan to attack Earth within the year. Anyone who allies with us will be a target." The Xanthari leader was quiet for a long moment. "So we must choose between the humans who destroyed our oppressors and the coalition that fears what you might become." "Yes," Julie admitted. "That's exactly what you have to choose." Back on Earth, Max Porter was finishing his speech to the Galactic Council. The chamber was completely silent as he spoke. "My species didn't ask for this war," he said. "We were content to grow food and make music. But when the galaxy's predators came to hunt us, we showed them what real predators look like. Now you're all afraid of us, and you have good reason to be." He paused, letting the words sink in. "But here's what you need to understand. Humans don't fight for conquest. We don't fight for resources, we don't fight for sport. We fight for survival, and we fight to protect the people we care about. The Vorthak made a simple mistake. They threatened our families." The Carillion delegate found his voice. "What do you want from us?" Max smiled, and for the first time it was a genuinely warm expression. "We want what we've always wanted. To be left alone, but that's not going to happen, is it? The hegemony is already building fleets to attack us. Other species are asking for our help. The galaxy has changed, and there's no going back." He walked to the center of the chamber. "So here's what we're going to do. Earth is establishing the Terran Protection Alliance. Any species that wants our protection can join. Any species that threatens our allies will face the same fate as the Vorthek. And any species that just wants to be left alone will be left alone. And if we refuse, asked the hegemony representative. Max's smile faded. Then you'll learn what? The Vorthek learned. Humans are very good at making friends. But we're even better at making enemies regret their choices? The vote was held that same day. 47 species joined the Terran Protection Alliance. 12 species remained neutral. 3 species, led by the hegemony, declared their intention to contain the human threat. As Max Porter prepared to return to Earth, he received a message from Admiral Morrison. The hegemony fleet had been spotted moving toward human space. They would arrive within 6 months. Are we ready for another war? Max asked. Morrison's reply was simple. We're human. We're always ready for another war. The message was broadcast across the galaxy within hours. Humanity's response to the hegemony threat was not fear or negotiation. It was anticipation. The species that had once hunted others for sport were gone. In their place stood something far more dangerous. A species that had learned to turn everything, including their enemies' own weapons, against them. The galaxy would never be the same. The age of the hunters was over. The age of the monsters had begun, and at the center of it all, on a small blue world called Earth, 6 billion humans went about their daily lives, growing food and making music, raising families and building futures. But now they did it all with the knowledge that when the galaxy's predators came calling, they had become the thing that even monsters feared. The hunt was over. The real war was just beginning.